What's going on, everyone? Kevin Durant, he wants to be traded, and currently his two destinations seem like Boston and Philly, although I think it's Boston or bust at this time. But we are currently in this stalemate with Kevin Durant being traded. Based on reports, Kevin Durant's trade is getting no traction, no momentum, because the Nets aren't really heavily pursuing because they feel like they're not getting offers that are valuable enough for Kevin Durant. And teams on the other side are looking at it as like, why would we give you the farm for Kevin Durant when you have to trade him? He doesn't want to play for you. He's not going to play for you. And many NBA teams and execs believe that he's not going to suit up for the Nets. Now, could he suit up in the, Vince Carter-esque way, where back in the day, Vince Carter with the Toronto Raptors did not want to play and they did not want to trade him. So he suited up, so he got his money, but he was a disaster. He completely sabotaged that team. I mean, it was disastrous to the point where they just traded him for basically peanuts. And then he went to the Nets and immediately was that like 27-point-a-game guy all over again. And it was like, okay, so he clearly just sabotaged the Toronto Raptors. Kevin Durant could do the same thing. He could just show up and take half-court shots and do whatever and make you have to sit him. But hey, you can't find me. Hey, you can't do anything because I'm here, I'm playing, I'm on the court. Kevin Durant's not going to kill himself. And things could get real ugly real fast. Even Brian Windhorst earlier on ESPN this morning talked about how we were at this like stalemate because of leverage. It's the power of leverage. Kevin Durant's trying to leverage his way out of Brooklyn, and the Brooklyn Nets have no leverage in negotiations for a trade for Kevin Durant. And teams aren't offering what the Nets want because teams know why. What is the point? We'll give you a Jaylen Brown because we're probably going to lose him anyway, but you're not getting Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, Derek White, Robert Williams, and 3 firsts. That's not going to happen. You get Jaylen Brown, we'll give you Derek White, we'll give you like 2 first-round picks. That's better than nothing. That's better than the disaster that you're about to endure with Kevin Durant. And we're seeing more and more signs of this. Now, there's reports that Kevin Durant isn't going to show up to training camp, which that would be the first sign. And then the second is he might just retire. According to an NBA exec, they believe that, hey, Kevin Durant, he's serious about this. This isn't a game. And I'm sure he's not the only one. That's why all these teams that are talking these trades and talking about Kevin Durant and stuff like that, they're all saying this because they know Kevin Durant is going to do whatever it takes, whether it's sitting out, faking an injury, retiring, whatever, and he's going to put the Nets in a position to where it's just going to be disastrous. And Brooklyn is trying to play hardball with Kevin Durant. Problem is that the longer you drag this out, if you're Brooklyn, the worse it could get. Because if he ends up sitting, now what? You don't have money. You basically have the cap hit. Even if you don't pay him, right? Like let's say he sits out, he just sits out. He doesn't fake an injury, doesn't do anything to where you still have to pay him. It's not like you can use his money to go get another player. No, you're still stuck. And then what if Kyrie does that to stick up for his buddy Kevin Durant? Now you're stuck. Now you're not a team. And what if Ben Simmons? Ben Simmons, you don't even know if Ben Simmons is going to play. So you might have your 3 best players not even play in protest because you won't trade them. It's a terrible situation for the Nets to be in. I get it. It sucks. But sometimes you just got to cut your losses and move on. Let him go be somebody else's problem. Let Kyrie go be somebody else's problem. Keep Ben Simmons because he's still young enough to where if you can get him, plus he has no trade value right now because nobody thinks he's going to play. So at least, get him in a position to where he's bought in. You don't want what he did last year is what Kevin Durant's doing this year. And you really want to see that disaster and then Ben Simmons come in and maybe he wants the same thing too now? No, cut your losses, move on. Be done with Kevin Durant. Put your team in a position to where you can now be better and grow for the future and you have an idea of what your team looks like from here to the next several years. Because sooner or later, you're going to have to trade Kevin Durant. And you're playing hardball for what? The longer this gets dragged on, the less teams are going to give up. If Kevin Durant sits out and just says, I'm not playing, and Kyrie does it too, you think teams like the Celtics are going to say, we're going to get, you might not even get Jaylen Brown at that point. They might look at it as like, dude, like you have to trade him. We'll give you like Al Horford for salary. We'll give you, maybe our young guy and Davis, and we'll give you a couple firsts, but you're not getting Jaylen Brown. And now other teams look at it like, why would we give you, Mikal Bridges, if you're the Phoenix Suns? We'll give you, we might give you Ayton. and Jay Crowder to get salaries or whatever, but that's it. Like, you're just running the risk of teams dropping their price lower and lower and lower. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. You are never going to get more for Kevin Durant than you would right now, because two things happen. Either A, Kevin Durant plays for you and actually does play for you, gives you 100%. And if that's the case, then why trade him at all? Do that next season or whatever, or later on, or maybe you can get him to buy in, especially if you win a championship, which I don't think is going to happen. Not the championship, just him playing, period. Or if he does, like I said, the Vince Carter route. Option 2, which is the more likely option, is that he just sabotages the team, or he just sits out entirely, and now you're screwed. Because now teams are going to say, well, we gave you an offer that you didn't like before. We're not upping the offer now. And now you're crawling back saying, hey, yeah, we'll take your offer now. No, too bad. That sucks. Now it's going to be this. And if you don't like that, keep him. Be a terrible team. Let Houston get a lottery pick, because you guys are terrible and terribly managed, and you guys don't know what you're doing. Like, why would teams help Brooklyn? Like, Brooklyn's trying to get a king's ransom for Kevin Durant when they're not in a position to get a king's ransom for Kevin Durant. It's still Kevin Durant. Teams will always trade for Kevin Durant, and Kevin Durant knows that. Kevin Durant knows if I sit out for the next year, guess what? Teams are still going to want me, because every team in the league was lining up to sign me when I had an Achilles injury, and they didn't even know if I could still play. So you think teams are going to take me if I could sit out for another year, and I tell them, like, yeah, I'm all in on your team if you trade for me, if you come get me? Of course. And Kevin Durant, he's got more money than God. He ain't worried about sitting out a year. That dude's got hundreds of millions of dollars. That dude's got brand deals and endorsement deals and all kinds of stuff. He's not worried about sitting out for a year. Or he goes, he plays, he gets a hamstring injury. Kyrie Irving threatened to fake an injury on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So why wouldn't Kevin Durant do it? He'll learn from his buddy Kyrie. My point is that Joe Tsai, at some point, has to be the businessman. At some point, has to say, enough is enough. We need to trade him. Figure it out. And Sean Marks is like, well, offers are terrible, da-da-da. What is the best offer on the table? Okay, take that offer. Like, we need to move on. At some point, Joe Tsai, as the owner, has to come in and say, enough is enough. I understand, you want to keep your pride, you want to keep your ego, you want to show like nobody's going to bully me around, nobody's going to boss me. I pay these players, the players don't pay me, this, that, and the other. Like, I get it. You want to be Mr. Tough Guy, you want to, show the pride, you want to show the ego, but all you're doing is hurting your franchise. Kevin Durant's going to be fine no matter what. Kevin Durant could retire this year and will be set for the rest of his life. Who cares? He could go play overseas if he really wants to play basketball, or go play in some other league if he really wants to go play basketball, or just really retire for a year. The Nets end up, getting his salary off the books, and then Kevin Durant just unretires and goes sign elsewhere. We see Jordan do it twice. So it's not. So Kevin Durant could just say, okay, fine, I'll just sit out a year, I'll retire, and then you guys are screwed. Kyrie Irving's leaving. You guys won't have money. You guys won't have anything. Go ahead. Good luck. And you think teams and players and stuff are going to want to come to Brooklyn after this mess, after the way you handled this? No. Like, you kidding me? Good luck. I don't rule out Kevin Durant retiring for a year in order to be able to do what he wants. If he wants to sit out for a year, he'll sit out a year. He's not, yes, people look at it, and I did too. I looked at it as like, dude, he loves the game of basketball too much. He's not that guy. He's not going to sit out an entire season. But I also didn't think he was a guy that would tell the owner to fire the coach and the GM, that he would do all this mess, really force the Nets' hand in the way that he has, and really play hardball like this. I thought it would just be simple, like, hey, I'm going to trade you. No, we're not trading you. All right. And then, he would just play until they traded him. That's what I thought would end up happening. And that was wrong. Clearly, Kevin Durant is being serious. He's playing hardball. And if he doesn't show up to training camp, you just lost more leverage. If he doesn't show up for the first game of the season, you just lost more leverage. What is the incentive to keep him and Kyrie Irving? That what, on paper you're a championship team? That's what I hear from people time and time again. The Brooklyn Nets, they're a championship contender. Why would Joe Tsai want to get rid of them? That's great and all, but if none of them play, you're not. If none of them play, You're not a championship contender. And all they're doing is just sabotaging your team. Why wouldn't you want to move off of them and go get players that do want to play for your team, that are willing to suit up for you, that are willing to give 100%? Why wouldn't you do that and get rid of Kevin Durant? I understand it's Kevin Durant, but he doesn't want to be there. And if he doesn't play, you're screwed. Get what you can for him. It's better than getting nothing. It's better than losing a bunch of money for no reason, just to show like we're not that team, we're not going to play hardball. All you're doing is looking terrible to the rest of the league. That's it. All you're doing is just making yourself look foolish to the rest of the league. And a new collective bargaining agreement is likely going to come out and fix this. But unfortunately, you're very likely the last team that is in this situation. And you need to just cut your losses and move on. Just be done with it. Get over it. Move on. Trade Kevin Durant. Because at this point, if Kevin Durant doesn't show up to training camp and he actually does sit out or he does retire for a year so that way he doesn't have to play for he doesn't have to play for the Brooklyn Nets ever again, and you have to eat that cap and everything like that, like, you're screwed. You're screwed. Like, why? What is the point? Because as soon as you go replace him, as soon as you fill up that salary, that's it. He gets to go to a new team. It's over. Like, it makes no sense. But those are my thoughts and opinions. And as always, pass the question on to you. Let me know yours down in the comment section below. Do you think Kevin Durant would really retire? Do you think, yeah, that sounds like something Kevin Durant would do, especially with all the power plays and stuff he's put out so far? Do you think, like, yeah, I could see him doing that? Do you think, like, no, he'll play? Do you think if he does play, do you think he'll pull a Vince Carter? If you're somebody that remembers Vince Carter doing that, which I think is crazy. Like, I mean, he blatantly sabotaged the Toronto Raptors. What was that, back in 2001 or whatever? So, yeah, so I'm sure there's people old enough to remember that. And I could see Kevin Durant at this point doing that. Be like, okay, you want me to suit up so you pay me? All right, I'll suit up. But watch what's going to happen. And Kyrie, you could do the same thing. It's just a disaster. Just trade him and move on. Take the best offer on the table. If you can, try to get an extra first or something. Just be like, okay, fine, we'll take your deal if you give us one more first or something. Anything. You know, try to get something and then just move off of Kevin Durant. It sucks. It's a shit situation if you're the Nets. But cut your losses. What's done is done. You know, like I said, Joe Tsai is a businessman. Sometimes you make bad investments, and you don't try to keep the investment around because you want to prove that you were right. No, you're a businessman. You cut your losses and you move on, and you go to the next one, because for every 3 wrongs, all you need is that one to be right. Now you're successful. It's the same thing. You tried with the whole, Kevin Durant and Paul Pierce and thing. Didn't work. You cut your losses and you moved on. Then you got the Kevin Durant thing, situation, Kyrie, it didn't work. Cut your losses and move on. Maybe you can get Jaylen Brown, Ben Simmons, Marcus Smart. Maybe you could go and, in a year or so, go sign another star or something, or another mid-tier guy, grow that team, and maybe that's the one that'll work out. Maybe you're in the finals. Maybe you're winning a championship. You never know. You never know. But again, however you feel about it, love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. One last little shameless plug is I did start As It Stands Lakers. It is a channel just like this, dedicated to only the Lakers, because the Lakers are my favorite team. And on this channel, As It Stands, I talk about all teams, all sports, stuff like that. We have football season coming up, so I'm definitely looking forward to that as well. And I just wanted to make a dedicated channel to the Lakers to give the ins and outs. Now, all the big stuff, all the big news and stuff, I will still post here on this channel. But if you want all the ins and outs and just rumors and theories and just discussions just strictly on the Lakers, link down in the description or in the comment section. Go check out the channel, subscribe to the channel. I'd really appreciate it. That being said, hit that like button. Helps me out a lot. Lets me know you enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. If you're not subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button, followed by the bell notification. Stay up to date with all things sports. Join this wonderful community and all of our discussions. I'll see you all in the next one. Thank you.